Hi, welcome to Arcam. I'm your host, Ryan Kamaska, and we're up to episode number 7. So thank you guys for tuning in. So we're just going to get right into it today. So on the 9th, this past Tuesday, The Hill put out an article with the headline that reads, Chicago Cubs place indefinite ban on fan who flashed offensive hand gesture during broadcast. The article goes on to read, the Chicago Cubs have indefinitely banned a fan from Wrigley Field after he made what appeared to be a white power symbol behind a black reporter during Tuesday's broadcast. So what is this symbol? Well, upon further investigation, I discovered that after seeing this symbol that everybody I know is a racist. My own mother might be a racist. My wife, who I've been married to for 4 years, is a racist because she sends me this symbol all the time. So what is this symbol? I'm going to show you guys, but trigger warning, it is terribly offensive, and you might realize that everybody you know is a racist too. So I just want you guys to prepare yourselves. Try not to cry. Try not to recoil in terror as I show you this symbol. All right? Are you guys ready? All right. Here it is. Oh my God. Yeah. The OK symbol is now a symbol of hatred. It is now a symbol of white supremacy. I know it's horrifying to come to this realization, but it's true. Now you might be asking yourself, how did this happen? How did something like the OK symbol become a symbol of hatred? That's a good question to ask. I found myself asking the same question. And evidently it's because our culture has just gone completely insane. So first of all, this symbol is a universally accepted symbol for meaning okay. It is also the symbol used for a very popular game known as the game. And if you guys don't know what the game is, y'all just lost. Because the game is a game that is played by several individuals who try to trick their opponent into seeing this symbol, and if they get them to see the symbol, it's like, I gotcha, and some variations of the game allow you to punch your opponent. So it's a lot of fun. I played it a lot in high school with my friends, and we always had a good time with it. But now it's now evidently this guy, which I really believe this guy is playing the game, and honestly, I think he's a hero. I really do, because he got so many people at once that I think it's quite incredible that he could get get people using the game in the national spotlight. But this has, but a lot of people are saying that this is now a symbol of white power. This guy actually got banned from the game, from Wrigley Field, because he used this symbol. And what if he was, what if he wasn't playing the game, but he was really just saying okay to somebody? Would he then be banned? It's just ridiculous. So what if white supremacists suddenly adopted the peace sign? Is that now a symbol of hatred? It's just really ridiculous. But this all springed up because the person who committed the terrible act of terror on the mosque in Christchurch in New Zealand used this symbol while he was in court. There's also, I believe, a 4chan thread or a Reddit thread that made it a point to try to turn this symbol as a joke, to be a symbol of white power, and they were kind of successful, because now the internet's going insane, and they're viewing this symbol as a symbol of white power, which I don't believe it is. And even if that's what the Christchurch shooter meant, he doesn't get to hijack universally accepted symbols. Just because he used it does now not mean that this is a symbol of white power. I'm sorry, I just don't agree with that. He doesn't get to hijack symbols, and he doesn't get to hijack the game. He doesn't get to do that. And the more I think about it, the more ridiculous I think it is. So he was wearing clothes. Are now clothes suddenly a symbol of hatred? It's just like it's just so dumb. And it did get me thinking, though, a little bit more deeply on racism in our culture. And I found myself reflecting a lot about how divisive the issue of race has been, and how we are under a silent war with one another over race. And I think that is something that is terribly disconcerting, and it really troubles me. And I was talking to a friend of mine at work the other day, and we were talking about racism, and I was sharing with him that I don't understand racism. And not that I don't believe that there are racist people out there. I know there are, and I think it's terrible that people are racist, and I think it's terrible that there are other people who hate other people, because that's the core of racism, is hatred. And I don't think anybody should hate anybody, and especially if you're somebody that calls yourself a Christian. So hate should not be a part of the Christian DNA. That should not be a part of who we are. But the thing about racism is it's a simple form of hatred. And it's one of the most superficial forms of hatred. Your skin's a different color, so I don't like you. Like come on. Like, that is so ridiculous. We are all humans. We all share the same sky. We all bleed blood. And we all breathe the same air. Like we are all humans. So why don't we start recognizing our humanity instead of recognizing our skin color first? I just don't get it. But I think one of the solutions to racism is, well, I know it is love. I think that is key in our culture. And I think we as a culture have elevated racism to be one of the worst sins. And in our culture, the sin of racism is something that is unforgivable. And I don't agree with that. I think even if somebody is found guilty of racism, let's say the guy in this article was a racist. So our solution is to ban him from everything and chastise him and cut him out from society. I think that's just a little ridiculous. And I think we're getting out of control with it. So I often think in situations like this, how would Jesus respond to the modern day racist? This I find myself thinking this way in a lot of different areas of my life. I either think, well, how would Jesus respond, or would I personally do it to Jesus? And in this situation, I'm reminded of a story in Scripture where a woman is caught in the act of adultery. She is caught in the very act of adultery. So the scripture, or the story I'm talking about, is found in John 8, 1 through 11. And I'm going to share with you guys that story. So I'm just going to set the stage a little bit for this story. So a crowd is gathered around Jesus, and Jesus proceeds to teach them. And as he was speaking to them, a group of religious leaders known as the Pharisees brought Jesus a woman who was caught in the act of adultery. And they throw this woman in front of Jesus, and they say, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. the law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? Now, first of all, how did these guys catch her in the act of adultery? I think we got a bunch of peeping toms over here that were doing something they shouldn't have been doing. And second of all, their motives for doing this are wrong. They're trying to trip Jesus up. They're trying to find something they can use against Jesus. But Jesus isn't having any of it. So they kept demanding an answer. So Jesus stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." And when they heard this, they started leaving one by one until only Jesus was left in the middle of this crowd with this woman. And I thought the way he responded to this was brilliant, because he knew that none of these guys were without fault, and they're trying to condemn this person for her wrongdoing, and they're not offering her a path to forgiveness. They're not doing any of that, but they're trying to condemn her. And Jesus calls out their hypocrisy. And I love the way that Jesus responds to this woman. So Jesus said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" And she said, "No, Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." I love this, because Jesus doesn't condemn this woman, but instead he offers her a pathway toward redemption. He tells her, turn away from your sin and stop doing it. Go the other way. And I think that's really profound. And I think that we can apply this same story to what is going on in our culture today, especially in regards to racism. So what would Jesus do if he were to catch a man in the very act of racism? I think Jesus would respond in the very same way. And I think all of you guys that are quick to stone the racist need a heart check. Need to ask yourself, if you are guilty of sin. Jesus uses some strong language in the Bible. He says that if somebody has hatred in their hearts, they are a murderer. So if you hate anybody, you are just as guilty as the person caught in the act of racism. You are just as guilty as the racist. And I think that should challenge us. I mean, how many of you guys hate Donald Trump? In the eyes of Jesus, you're no different than the racist. How many of you guys hate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Well, then, in the eyes of Jesus, you're just as guilty as the racist. How many of you guys hate anybody? I'm sure there are a lot of you, and that's not something, especially if you're a Christian, that should be part of our lives. We should not hate anybody, no matter what they've done. Think about this. Jesus forgave the very people that were murdering him. Jesus ate and broke bread with Judas, who was getting ready to betray him. Jesus washed his feet. Think about that. And Jesus went anyway, and he died for those people. Jesus died for the racist. Jesus died for the murderer. Jesus died for the liar. Jesus died for everybody who was found guilty of sin. And that is a beautiful thing. And I think that is one of the most effective ways we can combat racism in our culture, is by loving even the racist. Now, I'm not saying that people should not suffer the consequences of racism if they violate the law or are guilty of a hate crime. Then yeah, they should be judged accordingly by our law. So if they commit a hate crime, then they should be put in jail. They should pay whatever the penalty is for the crime that they've committed. But we should not be a people who deny someone the opportunity for forgiveness. And I know this is not a popular view, and I know this is not the way that we think about people who are racist, but I think we do need to start thinking a little bit differently about how we treat racists, because they're just as broken as everybody else. I lived with somebody who is racist, and that man is one of the most broken people I've ever met. And it's not even I just find myself heartbroken that somebody can be as hate-filled as he is, and I think our response to racism and to hatred should be marked with unconditional love. Jesus Christ was the living example of what true love looks like, and Martin Luther King was somebody that was filled with love and compassion and fought for a world where we weren't divided by the color of our skin. And I think we should continue to live for that world and do our very best to not let hatred divide us. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you like the content that you're seeing, then I just encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And also share your thoughts. I'm curious to hear what you think. Do you think that we can continue to use the OK symbol, or is it now a symbol of white supremacy? Also, did you play the game? Because I did, and I had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, have a blessed day, guys. Deuces.